That 4th-and-5 run for a touchdown wasn't just a scoring play, it was the absolute definition of doing whatever it takes to survive. If you bleed silver and black, you look at that moment and realize Fernando Mendoza isn't just a quarterback, he is the living, breathing embodiment of a commitment to excellence. I want him leading this franchise, and after watching that performance, you should too. Before we dive into the madness, smash that like button, share this with every Raider fan you know, and make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss a beat of this offseason. We have to talk about the national championship game because, my God, that was electric football. Indiana walks into Hard Rock Stadium, essentially a road game against the Miami Hurricanes, and grinds out a 27-21 victory to complete a perfect season. Now, I already know what the haters are going to say. I can hear the keyboard warriors typing right now. They're going to look at the stat sheet and scream, but he only went 16 of 27. He only threw for 168 yards. If you are one of those people who obsesses over box scores instead of watching the actual game, you are missing the entire point of football. Shame on you. I say that with love, but seriously, open your eyes. When you actually watched the tape, Mendoza was infinitely better than what the numbers say. That image of him diving for the pylon, putting his body on the line. That is the definition of, I will not be denied. That is a man saying, I will drag this team to a win if it kills me. When Mendoza stood at the podium and said he would die for his teammates, did you feel that? Because I believed him. And judging by the reaction online, the entire Raider Nation believed him too. Here is a question I want you to honestly ask yourself right now: do you want a quarterback who throws pretty spirals for 300 yards in a losing effort, or do you want a field general who does the dirty work to ensure you hold the trophy at the end of the night? You know who else was watching that grit? Mark Davis. The owner wasn't just casually attending, he was locked in. I've seen the photos, I've seen the video clips circulating, and let me tell you, his eyes were glued to Fernando Mendoza. There were rumors flying around about distractions in the luxury boxes, but ignore that noise. Mark Davis was laser-focused on the kid from Indiana. And frankly, he better be. When you hold the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft, and you are the owner of a franchise desperate for a savior, you need to be in that building. You need to see the sweat, the leadership, and the fire up close. You have to make sure every I is dotted and every T is crossed before you hand someone the keys to the kingdom. But it wasn't just Mark. The heavy hitters were all there. Tom Brady was in the building. General Manager John Spytek was in the building. We even had reports of minority owner Egon Durbin in attendance. Think about the significance of that. You have the owner, the minority owners, the greatest quarterback of all time who is now part of the brass, and the general manager all converging on Hard Rock Stadium. The top decision makers for this football team were there for one reason: to see if Mendoza is the truth. Mark Davis needs to be sold on this pick. He needs to feel it in his gut. And if you watched Mendoza play this season, and especially in the college football playoffs, I don't know how you can walk away thinking anything other than, that guy is a franchise quarterback. This leads us to the terrifying reality of our current roster. We need a quarterback. This isn't a debate, it's an emergency. Geno Smith. He's gone. He has already scrubbed the Raiders from his social media, he's packing his bags, and he is looking for a payday elsewhere. That's fine, that's his prerogative. Kenny Pickett is hitting free agency. Once the new league year kicks in on March 11th, do you know who is on our roster? Aidan O'Connell. That is it. I need you to get active in the comments section for the question of the day: if the Raiders do not draft Fernando Mendoza at number 1 overall, and we don't trade for a superstar, who the hell is starting week 1 for Las Vegas? Give me a specific name below, because honestly, I'm terrified to hear your answers. You cannot go into next season without a definitive plan. You need to ensure you have a day 1 starter. And looking at the landscape, Mendoza is clearly the QB1 of this class. He might be the only quarterback worthy of a first-round grade. There have been rumors about trading for Lamar Jackson, and sure, that's a conversation, but if you aren't pulling off a blockbuster trade, you have to draft Mendoza. It is that simple. Let's talk about the definition of insanity: doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Look at how the silver and black have handled the quarterback position for years. If you look me in the eye and tell me we should go down the veteran route again, I think you're crazy. We haven't taken a quarterback in the first round since Jamarcus Russell. I know. Just saying that name makes us all cringe. We could have had Calvin Johnson. It still burns. But we have to be honest with ourselves, there is absolutely zero comparison between Fernando Mendoza and Jamarcus Russell. Russell was lazy. He got his money, he got out of shape, and he didn't give a damn about the game or his teammates. Mendoza is the polar opposite. He is entirely about the team. He is about sacrifice. We have spent years bringing in journeymen, Gardner Minshew, Jimmy Garoppolo, Geno Smith. It's a revolving door of mediocrity. Mark Davis keeps writing massive checks for guys who don't move the needle. We wasted $25 million on Jimmy G. We wasted money on Geno. Mark has to be tired of lighting cash on fire for zero return. The best investment in the modern NFL is a rookie quarterback contract. It resets your window. It allows you to spend money building the offense, the defense, and the special teams around him. It makes the most financial and logical sense for where this team is right now. Now, let's get to my favorite reason, and honestly, the reason that matters most. Fernando Mendoza is a leader of men. When the Raiders hired Josh McDaniels, I knew it was doomed from the start because he wasn't a leader. When you look at the 2025 season under Pete Carroll, Geno Smith was a captain. And with all due respect, when Geno Smith is your captain, that reflects the ceiling of your leadership. We looked rudderless. We looked like one of the worst teams in football because there was no alpha in the locker room. Compare that to Indiana. They didn't have the most talent in the country. They didn't have 5-star recruits at every position. But they were the best team. Why? Because they had a leader at the very top who transformed the culture. Mendoza took Indiana, arguably one of the worst Power 5 programs historically, and in 2 seasons turned them into 16-0 national champions. That is insane. I want that DNA in my building. I want a franchise quarterback who elevates the play of every single person in the huddle. I've heard the criticisms. Anthony Richardson is more athletic. You are absolutely right. Justin Herbert has a bigger arm. No doubt about it. Trevor Lawrence can run better. Sure. But when did we decide that a 6 feet 5 inches, 225-pound quarterback with elite leadership traits and a high football IQ is a bad thing? Since when is winning games a secondary stat? I want the guy who shows up when the lights are brightest. I want the guy with ice in his veins. You can poke holes in his mechanics or his 40 time, but you cannot poke holes in 16-0. You cannot poke holes in beating Miami in their own backyard. You cannot poke holes in converting a 4th and 5 with the game on the line. Winning is contagious. The New England Patriots were a dynasty not just because Tom Brady was talented, but because the entire building believed that if Brady was under center, they were going to win. The Indiana Hoosiers believed that about Mendoza. In the playoffs, he had a 74% completion percentage, 9 total touchdowns, and 0 turnovers. He managed the game perfectly. I don't care if he isn't doing backflips like an Olympic athlete. If the game is on the line, I am taking Mendoza over the athletic freaks every single time. He has it between the ears. He is a field general in the mold of Brady or Peyton Manning. He won the Heisman. He won the Natty. Do you know who the last quarterback was to do that? Joe Burrow. And Joe Burrow isn't the fastest guy on the field, but he is an assassin. He is a winner. That is the company Mendoza is keeping. Another massive factor here is job security for the next head coach. The Raiders have churned through 6 different head coaches since 2021. It is instability at its finest. If I am a head coaching candidate interviewing with Las Vegas, I am demanding we draft Mendoza. Why? Because a rookie quarterback buys you time. It tells ownership, we are building something for the next decade. If you draft Mendoza, you are likely getting a 3 or 4 year runway to develop him. You aren't on the hot seat in year one. Brady and Spytek want to build this thing the right way. They want a coach who can grow with Mendoza, with Ashton Janty, with Brock Bowers. Mendoza is the ultimate insurance policy for a new coach. I know we have been bad for a long time, but this offseason feels different. I don't recall the last time we had over $100 million in cap space, 10 draft picks, and the number 1 overall pick all at the same time. This is a golden ticket. It is an incredibly attractive job, but only if you nail the quarterback position. You pair a young, hungry winner like Mendoza with the mentorship of a football icon like Tom Brady. That is a recipe for bringing glory back to Las Vegas. I have one final bonus reason why this fit is perfect, and it comes down to immediate success. We can actually put Mendoza in a position to win in year one. This isn't a throw him to the wolves situation. We have the assets to protect him. With 10 draft picks and that mountain of cap space, we can rebuild the offensive line overnight. Imagine this synergy: you build a wall up front. You have a punishing ground game with Ashton Janty, who is a monster. You have generational talent at tight end with Brock Bowers. You plug in Mendoza. That is 3 cornerstone players: Mendoza, Janty, Bowers, all on rookie contracts. That is a championship window opening wide. They all have that silent assassin mentality. They are strictly business. The Raiders have been desperate for synergy and culture. We need guys who just want to work and win. Fernando Mendoza is the definition of just win, baby. He fits the ethos of this organization perfectly. We have the money, we have the picks, and now we have the opportunity to take the guy who just proved to the entire world that he refuses to lose. So, look at the situation. The owner wants him. The greatest QB of all time is scouting him. The roster is ready for him. The fans are clamoring for him. It is time to stop the carousel of mediocrity. It is time to stop renting quarterbacks and start building a legacy. It is time to make the obvious choice.